many civil rights leaders and political leaders went to Vieques and protested and were arrested. Among them is Congressman Lee Gutierrez. Bobby Kennedy's son was arrested. He went there. Jesse Jackson went and protested, got arrested as well. So eventually, the U.S. Navy had to withdraw. So this was a clear example of how mobilization and organization of a little island was able to withdraw the most powerful navy in the world as a result of those bombings. Now, go ahead.
The biggest defeat of the U.S. Imperial Navy was Vieques. It's a shame.
I would agree. And this is coming from I'm an Army brat. And I'm very proud of my father. I'm very proud to this very day of every man and woman who serves in our nation's military. But this was one of those moments that our founding fathers pointed out that we had to make a more perfect union. This wasn't right. This was wrong. And it took people to speak up to change it. And this is a clear example of how our nation system actually works. If you speak up and you fight for something you believe in, we live in a country that it can be done, it can be achieved. As many civil rights leaders have said, if not us, who? So this is one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about this issue, because I believe that Puerto Ricans, not only Puerto Ricans, but non-Puerto Ricans or anybody, this isn't a Hispanic issue, this isn't a white issue, this is an American issue. And I firmly believe that we can get this done for equality for Puerto Rico. These are some of the missiles that were gathered after the U.S. Navy left. To this very day, the Puerto Rican government is still attempting to come to an agreement with the U.S. Navy to complete the cleaning of the area, and it's still ongoing. It hasn't been cleaned to the extent that is acceptable, as you can see in the picture. In 1998, a third non-binding plebiscite, a referendum, was held on the island. And on this referendum, there was serious political divide, and a boycott was organized against the process because the party that advocates for the status quo didn't agree in terms of the definition of their political status in the process, so they advocated for boycott, which is the yellow bar. Statehood received 47%, and the current status received 0.6, but they allege it was a boycott. So statehood, some argue that statehood won, others argue that no, the people voted against it. So once again, Puerto Rico is nowhere in terms of their definition of, or their identity in terms of what they really wanted. Then in 2012, and I was at the White House when this happened, President Obama continued President Clinton's Puerto Rico's task force on Puerto Rico status work, and the White House expedited a series of recommendations to his task force report, which indicated that a two-step process would be held on the island, obviously without federal sponsor, it was non-binding again, but for the people to vote in a two-process referendum. The first question would be, would you prefer to remain as a territory, yes or no? Depending on the result of that first process, a second question would be asked. If you voted no, that you do no longer wish to continue as you currently are, what do you prefer? Statehood, free association, which is sort of like Mariana Islands, etc., or independence?
It's like being half pregnant.
Correct. I like your analogies. So in that first question in 2012, a historic result. For the first time in Puerto Rico's history, the people finally spoke loud and clear. 54% voted against the status quo. This is non-debatable. It's very clear, crystal clear. And not only that, but this referendum had the highest voter turnout in all of Puerto Rico's history with 79% of voter turnout. It's important to note that in presidential elections in the United States, only around 35 or 40% of the people vote.